It's criminal defense lawyer Ryan Pacyga, and today I'm going to talk to you about a scenario that some men find themselves in and can be a very scary and confusing situation. You've had a consensual sexual encounter, and a day or two or three or a week or a month later, all of a sudden you get a message on your phone from law enforcement, a detective, or you get a knock on the door and they leave a business card if you're not there, or they stop by your workplace and they say, hey, can you talk to me? I want to hear your side of the story. And that's a situation where law enforcement is trained to tell you that. And here's what I mean by that. If you've had a consensual sexual encounter and then later on the accuser claims that it was a sexual assault, whether it's, again, later that day, you might not know about it. You left, everything seemed fine. She, for whatever reason, later thinks it was a sexual assault. And goes in, and sometimes they go to the hospital and get a kit done. Sometimes they just end up calling law enforcement, or they're told by their friends or family members to call law enforcement, and they report it as a sexual assault. And there's a wide variety of reasons. Certainly sexual assaults do happen. We know that. But there are also many instances of false allegations of sexual assault for a variety of reasons that these happen, unfortunately, and they're terrible situations. But here's what this video is about. So, police are often trained to call you on your phone rather than to stop by. And the reason for that is if they call you on the phone, they know that they don't have to read you the Miranda warning because you're not what's called in custody. You know that thing you see on TV where they say you have the right to remain silent, anything you say can be used against you, and you have a right to a lawyer. All of that's called the Miranda warning. And sometimes police know that if they read that to you, you might think twice about talking to them. So they're trained that if they call you on the phone, they never have to read you the Miranda warning because you're not in custody, which kind of means something like you might think an arrest might look like. Not just that, but that's a different video. Or they can stop by your home, your workplace, and say, hey, you're not under arrest. We're not going to arrest you today no matter what happens, but can we talk to you? And they might come in your home if you invite them in, or come in, or they might have you just come outside to talk with them privately, whatever like that. They haven't placed you in handcuffs. They haven't locked you in a squad car. And they just say, hey, we just want to get your side of the story. We were told that something happened here. They're trained to say that. Now, sometimes police are really looking to get your side of the story because they're maybe questioning whether a sexual assault or some other crime really did occur. They've already got some of their own doubts about it. But other times, no matter what you say there, they've already made up their mind that you're going to get charged with the crime, and they're just hoping that they can get you to talk about it before they read you the Miranda warning, before they arrest you, or before you go get a lawyer. And that's a trick, and they're allowed to lie to you about it, which a lot of people don't know about. So here's the situation here. That raises a question. Should you talk? I think some criminal defense lawyers would say never, ever, ever talk to the police. Personally, I don't agree with that. I've been doing this for 22 years. There have been many instances where I've been hired while someone's under investigation. They haven't been charged with the crime yet. Police want to talk to my client then, and it's a case-by-case decision, all right? Sometimes after getting my arms around the situation, understanding what's happening, my client's side of the story, me talking with law enforcement first about it to determine whether or not a client should come in and talk, sometimes I do make the decision to advise them, yes, we should go in together, meaning me with them, and go and talk, because this might just set you free from even being charged with a crime, which is a huge weight off people's shoulders. It also is less expensive than if you're actually charged with a crime and have to go through the court process and have a lawyer for that. Other times, though, no matter what you say, law enforcement has decided that they're going to charge you, or the prosecutors have decided that they're going to charge you with a crime. And sometimes I'll even have that dialogue with law enforcement and say, hey, he completely denies that this happened, if that's the situation, that it was a sexual assault. Maybe there was a consensual encounter, whatever that is. And I'll ask them, hey, no matter what he says, are you just going to, end up having to charge it anyway because of the nature of the allegation? Sometimes they go, yeah. And I said, well, there's nothing he can do then to benefit himself for coming in and talking. If you're just going to charge him anyway, what's the point of him coming in and talking if no matter what he says, you're just going to charge him anyway? So that's it. That's why it's a case by case analysis. I have had clients that have represented an investigation where we have gone in and talked, and that has actually shown law enforcement, proved to them why a crime didn't occur, or at least shown them that there's enough doubt that prosecutors decide they're not even going to charge it because there's just no way that they can really get down to the truth of what happened or not. They can't figure it out, right? And then, of course, there are other times where strategically it doesn't benefit someone to come in and talk for reasons I've already discussed in this video or other reasons. So that can happen. And again, while sexual assaults absolutely do occur, I have had some cases representing men where there has actually been concrete proof that there was, I mean, concrete proof, not just a he said, she said, where there was a false allegation, where the female was actually the initiator of the sexual contact or sexual acts between the two of them that night. She was with it the entire time, was into it the entire time, was not impaired by alcohol or drugs to the point she didn't know what she was doing, or not even consuming anything at all. And sometimes there have still been false allegations, and you all can imagine some of the reasons why sometimes there would be a false allegation that which can be absolutely devastating to anybody accused of that. Besides the court process or the fear of an investigation itself, just the stigma of the allegation. Of course, wondering, will you be falsely charged when there's an investigation, and will you be even unfortunately wrongfully convicted in some cases? That can happen as well. So one other thing I want to leave you with, I was looking at some lawyer directories. You can Google and find like lawyers that do this kind of case or that kind of case. And I was looking at ones that have these directories for lawyers that do sex assault cases, actually, in here in Minnesota. But I suspect it's the same across the nation here. And that's this. I know, because I work in the industry, which lawyers really do these kinds of cases or not, right? And other lawyers know as well. And what I saw when I went on, if you go on a Google search and like best lawyers criminal sexual conduct or best lawyers, defense lawyers for sex assault cases, there were some lawyers that popped up on this directory that do personal injury, that don't even do criminal defense at all. And somehow they're on that directory. And the reason that they're on there, and then there were some other lawyers that I know that do like DWI work, and they don't do sex assault cases. They don't do them. And yet they were on this directory. And you as a consumer would have no idea about this. And can you imagine trusting your future to a lawyer that doesn't really work in these cases? These are cases where the stakes are so high. And you need a lawyer that really works in these cases and not just says they do the cases, but really does them, and not just takes them and then pleads someone out left and right. Certainly there are times where someone needs to plead guilty to something. But there are other cases where there's a false allegation, and you need a lawyer who's experienced in going to trial and has had proven results of winning at trial in these cases, because you can't do it over. You got one shot to do it right in 99% of cases, unless you can win on appeal if you have to, but you don't want to be sitting in prison hoping that you win on appeal. And so beware out there. I don't know why those lawyers are advertising for doing those kind of cases when they really don't do them. That would be like a brain surgeon advertising that they'll do a heart surgery. It doesn't mean they're a bad brain surgeon. They could be a great brain surgeon. But would you trust a heart surgery to a brain surgeon? I wouldn't. And I don't think you would either. And so how do you figure that out as a consumer? Well, here's one thing you can do. When you're calling around or examining which lawyer to hire in a situation, ask them to prove to you how many cases they've worked in this sort of situation, whether they've gone to trial in these kind of cases, whether they've gotten not guilty verdicts or dismissals in these kind of cases. There are public records of dismissals, and there are public records of trial wins or losses as well, guilty or not guilty verdicts. These are all public records. So you can ask them to prove it to you, because if a lawyer just says, well, I handle sex assault cases, That doesn't tell you much. Does that mean that they've done one in the last 10 years or one a year? Does it mean that they've gone to some continuing education about it but have never actually done the case in court? Does it mean that they handle them and that they've had 5 or 10 of them, but that in every one of them they've pled guilty to something and they've never gone to trial in it? Does that mean that they've only done 3 trials ever in their life on these kind of cases? Or are they a lawyer who continuously takes these kind of cases, handles them in investigations, in court if a case is charged out? Have they had them dismissed? Have they had investigations dismissed? Have they gone to trial and won? Do they take continuing education on these kind of courses? And do they answer questions for other lawyers? I routinely get calls from other criminal defense lawyers on their sex assault cases that they're handling it, saying, Ryan, how do I handle this situation for their client? I'm advising other lawyers on how to handle these situations. It's because I've done them. They're hard cases. Some lawyers, even defense lawyers, won't touch them because there's so much stress involved, and wondering, am I going to get it right? Are the juries going to be fair in these situations? Am I going to look like a bad person because I'm defending a case that has so much sometimes yuck factor to it, if you will, or presumptions about the lawyer if I handle a case like this, or presumptions about the person that's accused of these things? That's why some lawyers won't take them. And then there's other lawyers who are interested in getting the money on them, but unfortunately, they really don't know what they're doing on the cases. And you're going to find that out the hard way. So those are some questions to ask if you're in this situation, or if you have a loved one in this situation and you just want to find a lawyer that's going to give you the best chance of the best outcome that you need and that's experienced in it. And I'm putting that out there because I care, because I've seen what these allegations have done to some people out there. Some, it's often men, will get suicidal. Some men do commit suicide in these allegations. Some men will lose their jobs like that, even though it's not a workplace allegation, just the nature of the allegation itself. They'll lose their job. Sometimes it will lead to a divorce. Sometimes it will lead to the whole community shunning the person, as you know that can happen, whether it's social media or rumors or whatever like that, and a whole bunch of other consequences. And so when people are going through that, they need someone who's going to stand up and say, wait a minute, let's look at this fairly and objectively. Let's not just presume an allegation is true and feel good about bashing the person because they've been accused of it, but rather get to the truth of what's really going on in this situation. And if there is a false allegation, let's do everything we can, the lawyer's team, with our skilled legal assistants and paralegals and private investigators. Let's put that together so that we can get to the truth and let either law enforcement see it and convince them, if it's a false allegation, not to charge, or if it gets to a charge, let a jury figure out what the truth is and make a difference, because a false allegation is a horrific thing, and you got to have a good defense. You got one chance to do it the right way and get someone who's experienced in it. So I hope that answers some questions and give you some guidance. I'm criminal defense lawyer Ryan Pacyga. I handle cases coast to coast. I'm based here in Minnesota, though. You can find me at arrestedmn.com. That's like arrestedminnesota.com. Or call me at 612-339-5844. Let me know if this was helpful, please. I like making videos that help people. Take care.